We are granted a clear sense of purpose and motivation to make our material goals happen during this first week of August. But within this energy, be wary of a slight tendency to be impulsive and to act without thinking of possible consequences. Our relationships are more conducive to our personal growth now, making this also a good time for social events. We might meet new and unusual people that can actively help us with achieving our goals. Artistic and romantic pursuits are favorable now as well. On the 4th, Mercury is moving into its earthly Virgo home, allowing for precision in our communication and thinking. Dealing with details comes more natural to us during this transit. It is advisable, though, not to get lost in these details or to be too rigid or ultimate in our expression. With Virgo still in Cancer during this week, emotional impulsivity could also still be at play in terms of our communication and thinking. Towards the end of this first week, a watery trine between Venus in Cancer and Neptune in Pisces marks this period as potentially highly emotional, imaginative and creative. Social interactions might be smoother now as well, as Neptune's influence is allowing for heightened intuition. Frustration could be creeping in though towards the end of the week. We might feel like we're facing more resistance than usual when pursuing our goals. To counteract this frustration, we are being called to be patient and to stick to what has been working for us so far, instead of starting new projects. Following on from the first week, emotions and issues that have been brewing under the surface might be coming up, possibly in a disruptive way. There is a sort of intensity in the air in terms of our close relationships, so be cautious when expressing yourself, especially in terms of your needs. Try to acknowledge your need for attention and validation as a you thing, instead of putting the pressure of having your needs met onto your partner, and vice versa, of course. There is a tendency to add pride and blame into the mix, which is never conductive. Expressing ourselves creatively could redirect this intensity in a productive way and be very healing now. It might be a good way to let go of build-up anger and frustration. On the 11th, Venus is moving into Leo, which could lead to heightened ego identification in matters of love and beauty. Our feelings of pride and passion could potentially be stronger than usual during this Venus placement. Generally, it's fair to say that our ego might be feeling more triggered now, not wanting to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term spiritual growth. We might experience more disruption in our routines and plans, forcing us ever so slightly into adopting new approaches. Not the greatest time for hasty decisions, even if we feel justified in making them. There will be a full moon on the 12th, cusping right between Aquarius and Pisces. The polarity between the current moon and sun could lead to an increase in creativity, but also an increase in our tendency to procrastinate and doubt ourselves. A trine between Mars and Pluto is helping us to stay focused and to keep going regardless. There is a strong need to feel free and independent, but at the same time we might crave a sense of community. Our spiritual growth might actually call for external influence now. This full moon also conjuncts with Saturn and squares Uranus, suggesting some stop-and-go energy as well as added seriousness and impulsivity to our emotions. Transformation and rebirth could become important themes around the end of this second week. The third week is highly influenced by Mercury, the planet of the mind and communication. A trine with Uranus makes this a favorable time for technological activities, group activities, and original ideas. Our intuition tends to be more enhanced, allowing for new insights to seemingly come out of nowhere. On the 18th, Venus forms a trine with Jupiter, a very fortunate transit, characterized by optimism, loyalism, and friendliness. We tend to be more open and trusting of the people around us. A great time to go on a little trip with our loved ones. If going on a trip is not a possibility right now, going to a special social event might give you the necessary break from your daily life and be just as enjoyable. With Mars entering Gemini on the 20th, Our interests become more diversified and less determined and focused. There is a tendency to take on so many different projects that our motivation becomes too scattered to be truly effective. All matters of the mind might actually become more hazy towards the end of this second week. Misunderstandings, wishful thinking, and confusion are to be expected due to Mercury opposing Neptune on the 21st. There is a tendency to want to transform our thought patterns now. With the Sun moving into Virgo on the 23rd, our focus shifts to the small details of life, an ideal time to get organized and to address the tasks that we have been putting off. Closing off certain chapters and projects could finally free us from unnecessary stress. A trine between Venus and Chiron is offering us a chance to heal our personal relationships, as we are more open to show vulnerability and appreciate others showing vulnerability to us. A perfect time for bonding and building trust. On the 24th, Uranus goes retrograde in Taurus, where it will stay until January 2023. When a planet goes retrograde, its energy turns inwards. These next 6 months call for introspection in terms of what is holding us back from living more spontaneously and authentically. There might be radical change coming within ourselves. If you feel like you can't be your authentic self around certain people, you might end up cutting ties with them by the end of the year. After 3 weeks in Virgo, Mercury moves on to Libra on the 26th. When Mercury is in Libra, we tend to want to see both sides at any given situation. We might generally be less assertive, more on the fence about things, and struggle when it comes to making decisions. This stems from a need to assess situations and opinions fairly, making us more diplomatic than usual. We might also experience restlessness, feeling like we need to do something without knowing what it is. A new moon in Virgo on the 27th might mean we end up putting our energy into organizing every and anything that we feel isn't up to our own standards. This will lend us with a sense of safety, but setting such high expectations can also be extremely draining. Try to embrace imperfection a little bit more and find safety through small changes in your day-to-day life instead of turning it around by 180 degrees. We might also experience difficulties in sharing our emotions and feel sad or misunderstood as a result. There is a tendency for mood swings and impulsivity around this new moon, as our emotional sensitivity is heightened. In an attempt to clean up our emotions, we might end up avoiding or even pushing away the ones we care about. That way, we don't have to deal with our insecurities in regards to whether we are loved by them or not. We have reached the end of this August 2022 astrological forecast. As always, I'll be leaving timestamps in the description that can take you to each individual week. So if throughout the month you want to check in on what's going on, it's only a click away. I hope you found this forecast to be insightful. Until next time, namaste.